Bout Time with Rashawn's Bout Time Boxing, aka Mr. Trill 100 Mil. What's up to my Bout Time Boxing family and the Trill 100 Mil gang? Thank you to every single one of y'all who has been taking out the time to watch the videos, like the videos, share the videos, and leave the comments. If you have not already subscribed to the channel and you're watching this video or any of my videos for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. Please encourage others to subscribe to the channel. Let's keep growing. Don't forget to hit that notification button to stay up on the latest with Rashawn's Bout Time Boxing. If you want to donate to support the channel, the Cash App is capital letters, Rashawn's Bout Time Boxing. No G at the end of boxing, B-O-X-I-N boxing. I appreciate all the love and support. Before I get into this though, but please don't forget to, again, to subscribe, to like this video and share this video. All right, so I did a video a few days ago and I said that JARON Ennis was the most feared boxer in the welterweight division. And a lot of y'all agreed, but some of y'all disagreed. And that's cool. That's fine, you know, because I respect everybody's opinion. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure who it was. It's one of my regulars who, you know, who kind of disagreed. But shout out to you, big homie. I appreciate, you know, you dropping that comment. But he was probably the only one that was, you know, that was actually respectful about it. Some people was, you know, actually being ignorant. But all right, so but the reason I disagree with that is because, all right, now, and some people share the same thing. A lot of people said that they feel like that a lot of people are actually trying to avoid Bud, you know, and they're trying to fight Errol Spence. So they don't feel like that, you know, people like, you know, that JARON Ennis, they, you know, felt like that Boots was trying to avoid Terrence Crawford too because they petitioned the IBF, you know. But the reason that Bozy and Team Ennis petitioned the IBF is because they're Errol Spence's, they're his mandatory. And Caleb Plant even said that the IBF usually is strict about their champions fighting their mandatories. But I guess it depends on who the champion is and the status of the champion. But that's why they petitioned the IBF. Not because they avoiding Terrence Crawford, because JARON Ennis has been extremely vocal in video after video about wanting to fight Terrence Crawford. And actually, in the video that I did last week, it was saying that in 2023, so after his fight coming up in December with David Avanesian, they say in 2023, he either fights Errol Spence or JARON Ennis, or he has to vacate the belt. Now, the reason that they didn't petition the WBO is because JARON Ennis is not his mandatory. Virgil Ortiz is his mandatory. But they chose to make Virgil Ortiz Stanionis mandatory for the WBA and give him that title shot over JARON Ennis, when JARON Ennis actually should have been the one to get the fight against Stanionis. And I'm not the only one that feel that way. There's a lot of people who feel the same way, that JARON Ennis should have gotten that WBA title shot against Stanionis. So they saying, well, why didn't Boots petition the WBO? Why come Virgil Ortiz didn't petition the WBO? He's the mandatory. In fact, Virgil Ortiz has the WBO interim title. And me personally, I don't feel like that people are avoiding Terrence Crawford because they're scared of him. And listen, and I'm not taking those shots at Bud, because listen, I'm a Bud. I love Terrence Crawford. I love Bud. But I feel like that people are shying away from him because they feel like they can make more money fighting Errol Spence. I'm not saying that is true. I'm not saying that it's not true. But what I'm saying is a lot of people feel like that they can probably make more money fighting Errol Spence than they can fighting Terrence Crawford. And like I said, I disagree with that, because I feel like that Terrence Crawford, and I said this in previous videos, I feel like that Bud is just as big as a household name as Errol Spence is. I'm not going to change my position on my stance on that. But JARON Ennis is not avoiding him. You can't say that Boots is avoiding Terrence Crawford because they petitioned the IBF. He's the mandatory for that belt. So he should get that shot. If anything, they should be asking how come Virgil Ortiz, because after Virgil Ortiz fought that guy, Michael, I can't remember, Michael something, the fight that he just had, and he stopped the guy. But when they asked him about fighting Terrence Crawford, yeah, at some point, he said down the line, at some point he'll want to fight him. And you haven't heard him being vocal about wanting, or trying to petition to get that shot at the WBO title. And he's the number one. He's the mandatory for that belt. Why didn't he, if that's the case, if y'all talking about Boots not petitioning the WBO, then why Virgil didn't petition the WBC? Or why? Because they trying to push for Keith Thurman to get that fight? Keith Thurman, who was inactive. So this tells you about the politics and the bullshit that go on in boxing. Thurman was inactive for 2 years, or maybe a little over 2 years. And then he come back and they allow him to pick who he wants to fight. So he fought Mario Barrios at 47 on pay-per-view and couldn't even hurt Barrios. But Tank stopped Barrios at 140. So after he beats Barrios, they elevate him to the mandatory for Errol Spence's WBC title? Are you kidding me? And I think Ortiz is ranked 2 and Jaron is ranked number 3. So you can't say, I think it's the opposite. People trying to, I think they avoiding Bud. They not avoiding Bud like that. It's just that some people probably feel like, they can make more money. And listen, when you got guys like Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, now, I feel like that if either one of those guys don't fight JARON Ennis, they should vacate the belts. Because I don't see a fight happening with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence in 2023, or Bud is already 35 years old. And by his own admission, he wanted to be retired by the time he was 33. So he's not going to be doing this too much more longer. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did vacate the belt in 2023. Because they're not fighting for titles and accolades no more, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. And all fighters do this. In the beginning of their careers, it's about winning the belts, getting the titles, and all that kind of stuff. Bud don't care about being undisputed. That's why I know that he's not going to fight Errol Spence. And the Ring Magazine welterweight title is still vacant anyway. But he don't care about that, because in the interview he said, I did that already. I did it. So I'm not pressed to do it again. I don't care about winning no more titles. I'm fighting for the money now. I'm a prize fighter. I'm fighting for the money. And Spence is the same thing. And him and Bud fighting each other, it was more or less about the money. The title of being undisputed was just a bonus. And even who would have had the 4 belts still would have been unified, because nobody had the Ring Magazine belt. And I know some of y'all discredit the IBO title, you know what I mean? But I feel like that, Boots should have that belt. And a lot of people feel like that the IBO belt has no prestige or no validity to it. But again, with the politics and all the BS in boxing, is based on who has the belt. Because if Spence had the 3 belts he got now, and he had the IBO belt, they would be saying, Spence got 4 belts. He don't really need to fight Bud. It would have been that type of talk going on. So I don't know, even after the Van Heerden situation, because we know how that fight was going to go, I don't know why the president of the IBO, Ed Levine, why he didn't put the belt up then. Why he didn't put the belt up in JARON in his very next fight and give him a chance to win that belt. And that's what I mean about, yes, I feel like, that was a slight. That boxing slighted JARON Ennis by giving Virgil Ortiz that fight against Stanionis. I don't have nothing against Virgil Ortiz. I don't. But Boots definitely should have got that fight for that WBA title. Rashidi Ellis got the IBF, I think, interim or intercontinental title. Ortiz got the WBO interim. I don't know who has the WBC or the WBA, but I'm pretty sure they're not as skilled as JARON Ennis. They're not on his level. They're not over him. And again, this kid got damn near 30 fights, which y'all, and people keep saying, it's not his time yet. And a lot of people only saying that it's not his time because of who the current welterweight champions are. That's the only reason why a lot of y'all saying that is because who the current champions are and who has the belts. But if Thurman would have had any of those belts and all that kind of stuff, listen, I promise you, if Thurman had the belts, he would be. He's a runner. He's a track star. He'd be running. Proof that he don't want to fight Boots or Ortiz. He lied in the interview and said he didn't even know who they was. They all fight on the same network, and he's talking about he ain't know who they was. Then he broke down and was like, okay, yeah, I know who they are. But he's still going to say, oh, they don't belong in the ring with me. No, Keith One-Time Thurman is not a gatekeeper. If you fight JARON Ennis, he's going to knock your ass out. And then people are going to be like, yeah, you are just a gatekeeper. Thurman got a better chance at beating Virgil Ortiz than he does at beating JARON Ennis. And that's a fact. JARON Ennis is the most dangerous welterweight right now. He is. I'm sorry. For those of y'all who disagree, I'm sorry that y'all disagree with that. But based on skill level, stats, you know what I mean? Ability, all that. It's a statistical fact. This kid is the most feared and most dangerous welterweight in boxing today, right now. And a lot of people say, oh, no, he's not, because they looking at the fact he don't have no belts. And that's why I keep saying that's another thing. Nobody's not looking at that. That's not, I don't understand. That's not weird or strange to y'all that this kid has almost 30 fights, almost 30 knockouts. He don't have an interim or intercontinental, nothing. WBA, WBC, IBF, IBO, WBA, nothing. And the Ring magazine, again, like I said, that belt is still vacant. The IBO welterweight title, still vacant. Who are they waiting to give that belt to? You even got female fighters carrying that IBO title. So, don't assume. And again, for everybody, you know, listen, I appreciate everybody, you know, everybody leaving the comments, you know, everybody dropping their, you know, leaving their opinions and all that. I appreciate that. I do. Honestly, I appreciate y'all 100. But JARON Ennis is not avoiding Terrence Crawford because he didn't petition the WBO. And Bud is getting ready to fight David Avanesian. Errol Spence, from what I know, he don't have no fights coming up. And he's posted on his own Twitter, he was trying to figure out what he was going to do next. Fight JARON Ennis next. I already said that. Fight him. Because he said he's never going to fight Keith Thurman. And I hope that he don't, because Thurman don't deserve it. And why don't they force Keith Thurman to have to fight a Virgil Ortiz or JARON Ennis or Butayev? Because if you leave it up to Keith Thurman to pick his next fight, who he gonna fight? Jamal James? He gonna and listen, I don't want nobody to think this is a slight or a shot at Jamal James, because it's not. It's not. But I'm just saying, like, he's gonna try to pick somebody who he think is an easy win. An easy win. Fight Rashidi Ellis. I wouldn't mind seeing Keith Thurman fight him. But because he's not gonna fight JARON Ennis. But if Boots start getting those belts, and that's another thing, and I said this before, and I will keep saying this. When JARON Ennis starts collecting those belts, I don't want to hear nobody saying he's ducking this person. Why won't he fight this person? Oh, Boots, he ducking this person. Because all these fighters who said they wanted to prove that they was the best by fighting the best, once they got enough trophies, enough jewelry, as they say, and now they feel like they got their accolades, because Bud, he are former undisputed champion, current welterweight champion, you know, 3-division world champ, all that. So he's just fighting. He made it clear, I'm a prize fighter. I'm fighting for money. So that's why, you know, that's why I know the fight with him and Errol Spence is not going to happen. But 2023, they said either he fights Spence or Boots. And Bud did say he would fight JARON Ennis. Okay, well, let's hold him to that. So after this fight with David Avanesian, get the negotiation started to fight JARON Ennis. Because Boots made it clear. He wants to fight Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, all them guys. But they going to keep feeding him. They going to keep trying to pacify JARON Ennis by keep feeding him these lesser opponents. And he going to keep making quick work out of them, looking extremely good doing it. And everybody going to continue to keep criticizing him for it. Oh, man, he was supposed to do that. Oh, well, he beat this person, beat that person. He can't do that against the top guys. Well, he trying to prove it. He trying to prove that he can do the same thing against the top guys. So it's not the thing like, well, when it's going to be his time. Like, because a lot of people still feel like, well, it ain't his time yet. And again, like I said, people are only saying that based on who the current champions are. Errol Spence and Bud got the belts tied up. It's the only reason why people saying it's not his time yet. And some of y'all don't want to see JARON Ennis fight them because y'all feel like y'all know what the outcome is going to be. Like, man, Boots going. Whew. And again, yes, I like Terrence Crawford. But do I think he can beat JARON Ennis? Absolutely not. Do I think Errol Spence can beat JARON Ennis? No, absolutely not. Keith Thurman? No. Stanionis? No. Rashidi Ellis? No. Butayev? No. Jamal James? No. Any other welterweight? Even if Justin DeLoach was down in that division? No, none of those guys. This is why, when Boots was up and coming, a lot of people wanted to fight him until they physically laid their eyes on like, oh, you talking about him? Oh, nah. A lot of people pulled out of fights not wanting to fight him because of once they saw who he was, then they understood that he wasn't the guy that they wanted to fight. So they did not want to fight him. So stop saying that JARON Ennis is ducking or avoiding Terrence Crawford because him and his team petitioned the IBF to fight Errol Spence. He's Errol Spence's mandatory. And Errol Spence is not trying to fight him. So this is why they petitioned. So now they're trying to hold the IBF accountable because they're supposed to be real stern on their champions fighting their mandatories. So Boots just trying to get his just due. He's number 2 with the WBO. Okay? Virgil Ortiz is number 1. But again, they slighted JARON Ennis and gave that WBA title shot to Virgil Ortiz. But I didn't hear nobody crying about saying why Virgil Ortiz didn't petition the WBO. And why did they all of a sudden make him the number 1 contender? I mean, the mandatory for the WBA when Boots clearly should have got that title shot against Stanionis. But like I said, drop the comments, leave the comments in the comment section below. Let me know what y'all feel. Let me know how y'all feel about this whole situation. Is this the bias bullshit in boxing? Do y'all feel like Boots is being slighted? Because I do.